And it's part two. I was trying to end it, but end it while speaking to signal that I was going to do a quick part two. And then I figured there really wasn't much else to say other than a summary, because I just rambled a lot on examples, lots of examples, without really summarizing the familiar pattern. So I'll just finish what I was saying. I was saying that the black church really, it's not to say it's dysfunctional. It's not really so much that it's dysfunctional. It's just operating at a horrible capacity of what it, if you go back long enough, what it was designed to do, what religious institutions were designed to do. Summarize, it's difficult because it's everybody. Like with Cynthia G, it's not getting to the point, like even if she were to address it on the inverse and say, well, what type of child support reforms do you think they need, Robert Perkins? You know what I mean? If she were to ask that question, that's getting to the core of the problem. That's getting to action. That's great. It's always, like I mentioned in the comments of part one, it's always a reason to prolong some form of escapism, some form of fantasy, and delay the action that comes with the religion, to the point where people will get offended if you tell them that religion requires action. Otherwise, you're just people believing in something. Well, you can believe in anything. Well, that's nothing. Your religion is obsolete. It's like the black church. What is it? Why do I say it's not completely dysfunctional? Is because it has certain sciences in it. There are churches you can go to where you can get marriage counseling. They definitely have the science of music. They have the science of caring. They're churches that will feed the poor. And I will say that is 2/1000ths of what it needs to be. If we're going to shoot for a populist reform that would move the needle for black power, something that's high up in the meta, it's reforming the church to where it addresses the sciences, as they did in the past in animism and in early Abrahamic. You know, the early Abrahamic temple was a bad bitch. They had some sciences within, and then they became spooky. And they, you know, same, and that was both Islam and Christianity. They got spooky with the shit to the point where, if I were to look at like Hebrew Israelites, they are really on some. The sky has to turn colors. The God has to move based on an ancient lineage. Like that's, I guess that is a form of magical thinking, but really it's not just magical thinking, because sometimes people will bring up stuff that's really practical, like with Cynthia G. It's like, what will stop, in theory, black men for saying the hell with the sisters and we'll go to somebody else? Now, to me, that's a question that she could probably answer to some degree herself, but it's not a terrible question. There could be worse. The thing is, it's always a question to get to, like Mr. Research said, it's because she wants a servant. So, like, grooming a servant. I don't know if I go that far. To me, it's kind of a fantasy where you have something that's like a servant, and just the same form of escapism that you get from the Kemetic brother who will say, we need to respect the black woman in order to get spiritually sanctified, and get spiritually sanctified in order to respect the black. And they'll get on that paradox, and then they'll throw in some diet, and I'm like, you're Jehuti, blah blah blah. What do your priests do? And their answer is no better than the typical black Christian. So they've removed action from the paradigm of religion, and to the point where they don't even like the word religion. Okay, call it culture, because it's the same thing. You have this change the name. It's the same things going on. It's just a name. And you see the same thing from the black conservative woke, the ones that are kind of like in that the disciples of Tommy Sotomayor kind of woke. I think he does wake people up to certain things. It's just they enter that same no action until the black woman is held accountable sort of thing. And it's that familiar pattern. It's with all of them. Yeah. And it's that familiar pattern. And it's that familiar pattern. And it's that familiar pattern.